Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio. I'm your host, Denise Griffitts, and this podcast is ranked in the top 2% of the most popular podcasts globally in the world. And it's all because of my truly incredible guests. They join me every Monday and every Friday, and I am honored and blessed to share time with people who are at the top of their game. And they show up here willing to help you get to where you want to be in life and in business. Now, these are not people who hold back. Their goal is to share with us the essence of peak performance. And my guest today, Brad Williams, knew he wanted to eventually start and operate his own business that would help others achieve their wellness goals. Look, we're in the new year. We're all talking about fitness, wellness, feeling better, losing weight, and just generally taking care of our health. So after exploding many options, he decided to get his personal trainer certification from ISSA and opened up his own private training studio in Huntington Beach, California. Have y'all ever been there? It's gorgeous. So over the last decade, Brad has owned and operated 3 gym locations in Orange County and oversaw more than 40 independent personal trainers, each with their own unique training styles. And he built a loyal following and sought-after client trainer community culture with each of his gym locations. And I want to know more about that. But post-COVID, and we're still talking about post-COVID, Brad had to focus more on online training, so he started his first fitness podcast called Over 40 Fitness Hacks. And his goal for that show revolves around his passion for helping the over 40 crowd fight the aging process while still having a social life. So join us as he shares many experiences, and I'm going to let him tell you about that. We've been struggling to get him online. Let's see if he's actually here. Brad, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you right now. I'm on my phone. I called in.
Hi. Well, I was beginning to really panic. It's like, okay, something's not working. I logged out, you logged out, and finally I just said, call me. So here we are, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Denise, for having me on the show.
Oh, it's exciting. Listen, it is the new year. I need some WD-40 on my chair. I just heard that. It is the new year. This is obviously the time people, they go to gyms and they drop out of gyms. But this is the time of year, for some reason, we all take a good look at ourselves and say, you know what? I put on some weight, or I put on a lot of weight, or I'm losing muscle mass. I just feel crappy. Let's face it. After the holidays, we all kind of feel, ugh. We ate too much, we partied too much, we drank too much, and that culminates a year of probably not taking good care of ourselves to start with. So I'm glad to have you here because, honestly, and I'm not a gym person. I'm an introvert. I don't want to be around people. More than 2 people is too people-y for me, so gym is not for me.
That's okay.
but I know that you've got a lot of reasons why you started, doing what you do and how you can help our audience. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Where would you like to start?
Well, I wanted to start, honestly, in Orange County. Yeah, when you're talking about Huntington Beach, I just went, oh, I haven't been there in so long, but it's so gorgeous. But you started your journey, I guess, with an accident. And you had back surgeries and all kinds of things going on. So let's start there.
Yeah. So my back surgery is actually, I started my first gym about 13 years ago, and just been a up and down roller coaster ride. Dealing with doing business in California. But I always say you can't learn this in school. You got to jump in somewhere. But my back surgeries actually didn't start until about 4.5 years ago. So it was kind of a little bit towards the midpoint of my career. But just to give you a quick, brief intro to myself, born and raised here in Central California, moved down to Orange County for school. was a business major, always had a passion for entrepreneurship, always knew I wanted to do something. And just from growing up, my dad was a medical doctor and mom was a nurse, so I always had that kind of background and into sports. So after several different jobs after college, I kind of just, I really like personal training. I got my certification. Let's go for it. And my brother helped me open my first gym. And, just over the course of the next 8 years, I got some investors. They helped me kind of expand the gyms. And, like I said, it's been a rough ride dealing with, the brick and mortar, high expenses, doing business in California, but eventually found my niche with, training the over 40 crowd. I was doing semi-private training, not big groups, but I could still train a few people at the same time to keep the costs down. And within that journey, I ended up kind of consolidating all those gyms down to one gym. In that, going back to the lower back reference, where my true passion came out of, helping the over 40 crowd, and especially with people with injuries. Besides, training and using perfect form and everything, I've never hurt myself in the gym per se training, but accidents happen, and being a gym owner, you're the trainer, you're a bookkeeper, you're the cleaner, and also if you need to move some equipment, you have to do that yourself too. And moving some real heavy equipment with some friends took a little trip while we were loading up the truck, and fell, and I caught myself, which I'm proud of myself with my awesome balance. But that one time, holding my weight with a 40-pound rack in my hand, I blew out my disc. So thus started the lower back story.
And I love and I didn't realize it was later on, but, things happen. I mean, what do they say, workplace injuries, or you're like, really? That just happened to me? I'm the boss. But it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I pride myself on my balance, and, I'm functionally fit, but just, things happen, and you just got to accept it. And, that was a real humbling experience. What happened is when I lunged out and caught myself and held the weight of the rack, I should have let it go. I don't know why. It was just instinct, and immediately blew out my disc. And, within the next 6 months, tried rehabbing that best I could. But at that time, when you have it was a herniated disc, so the disc actually popped. So the fluid inside, I can't remember what it's called, but I just call it the gel, was slowly leaking out over the next 6 months. And that's when you first start feeling your sciatica. And I don't know if any of your listeners, the ones that have had this, they'll know. I mean, you have to experience to really know what I'm talking about. But it is off the charts painful.
That happened to my mom, and she was in misery for basically the rest of her life. It didn't matter what they did. They fused her. They, gave her injections for pain. But, she was older, and she was very tiny. A little bit, she was actually anorexic, and there wasn't anything that could be done. She was in pain. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and, for me, they've gotten a little bit more progression on helping people with that, but it's still not the best. And, I tried the route of doing physical therapy, and, I was blessed with having that inside my gym already, and just did all the right stuff, and it just wasn't helping. It was actually getting worse, and finally opted into surgery, and I woke up, and it was the best day of my life. I couldn't believe it. All that pain was gone. And then fast forward another year and a half, I thought I was good, did all the right things, slowly worked with a physical therapist, and went back into, doing my life. And slowly but surely, it was leaking out again. For some people, that your body should heal and scar over that spot, and some people it doesn't. We don't know why. But I went right through the same process again. So, humbled it twice now. And fast forward, did another surgery, and that time they said they had to do a little extra work and drill into some of your bone a little bit, and, they start pissing off your nerves. And now it's a little bit of nerve damage now. Your disc is now even flatter than before. Still didn't have a fusion like your mom did, but I had to now do it even slower this time. And now it's been a year and a half since then, and I think I'm about 95%, and, I'm happy with the results now. But, all this happened during COVID, and my gym's falling apart, consolidating down to one. And then COVID was kind of the icing on the cake for, our industry. We got hit pretty bad. But through that, healed and started the online stuff and then my podcast, and that started flourishing. And on top of that, my wife's business did really well in the jewelry industry. So we came out on top, and, like I said, you just got to move sometimes laterally and keep the faith, and I'm better for it since.
Well, and you mentioned earlier that, and I'm glad you're feeling better, you mentioned earlier that these are not things you learn in school. When you're a business person or a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, a lot of it's just plain old-fashioned street smarts you learn as you go and you get knocked down.
Absolutely. That's, taking some marketing classes and business classes in school, it does help prep you. But, things change like every 6 months. So that doesn't really go back to the schools because they're not in the world actively. So that's
you have
sink
to
or swim wherever you are.
Right. And you have to have those basics. Listen, those of us who have our own businesses, build our own businesses, pray over them every day, like, let's keep this going. But we are constantly educating ourselves. We don't just go, okay, well, I got my degree, I've got this, I've got it. It's all good. We are constantly learning. We're enrolling in classes. We're taking courses. We're talking with mentors or coaches. We're talking with people who are in our own industry going, how are you doing this? Can you give me any advice or, kind of points that I can go look at? We're curious. We have to be very, very curious. But more importantly than that, we have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take action now. And it sounds like that's what you're very good at, taking action.
And then, staying on top of the newest trends and, the gyms and personal trainers that were faster to get the new certifications and the new styles. And just like you said, always educating yourself with the newer stuff. It just puts you that much more ahead of the industry, and the industry moves fast. So that's what I've always had to do. And actually, I pride myself on, making those quick lateral movements. I had no problem making a decision that completely 180 the way I did my business. And at one point, I stopped going after clients because that's every gym out there, and yoga and Pilates studio was all fighting for the same bucket. I started actually going after the personal trainers because I saw that, a lot of them would want to go independent, and there was only a couple options of private gyms that would rent space to them, and they would charge so much. So I just came up with, smaller amounts. If you only have 5 clients, I'll charge you this. If you have 10, I'll charge you this. And then the max, I ended up with about 60 personal trainers throughout all 3 of my gyms. So that was a move that I did real quick, and no one else was doing it.
I wonder why. Did you look around at everybody else? You obviously you figured out what they were doing, and you said, okay, they're missing something here, and clearly they were. But did you ever figure out why they didn't see the same things that you were seeing? That, honestly, if you don't have trainers, you don't have a gym.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things is, a lot of the other gym owners, they want to be in charge. It's their deal. So therefore they had to have employees, and they had more of like classes with set times. So if you're going to get someone, a trainer, to do that, that's an employee relationship, not an independent relationship. So they had to keep it that way. Where mine was, I was okay of letting my gym loose, giving people keys. I had their insurance, so they would come and go as they please, and I was real careful on not telling them what to do besides, the general gym rules. Therefore, I could keep them as independent contractors. And, I'd have them sign stuff and all that, but it would hold up. And thus I created like kind of the wild, wild west of people coming in and out of my gyms. And, you just put a little bit more of your money on security cameras and that kind of stuff. But it worked, and had the greatest vibe in the gym, and everyone was happy. It was awesome.
Well, and while you're talking, I keep thinking about hair salons. Those are not employees for the most part. They're renting those chairs. So it seems like that's kind of what you were doing with your gym. It's like you come in
Yeah,
and you bring your clients, and I take a portion of it, and you pay for rent, and it sounds very much like a salon type of thing.
Yeah, no, they run their salons exactly the same way. And like I said, other gyms, Pilates studios, and yoga studios, they're more of set times. You have to be there and train our clients, so they kind of had to go the more employee route. But yeah, we're set up just like I set it up just like barbershops and hair salons. So same thing. And then fast forward a little bit, I don't know if you remember about 4 years ago or 3 years ago that AB 5 law came into play in California. Do you remember that one?
No, I was born and raised in California. I've been here in Southwest Louisiana largely most of my life. My mother said I was born a Southerner. I was just born in the wrong part of the country, but I corrected that. But I don't remember that. So tell us more about that, because I have family all over California. It's where I'm from actually, but I have no idea what you're talking about. So educate us.
Yeah. So the AB 5 law came out because of Uber and Lyft, and over the course of people working for them, they were making pretty decent money, and then they started, leeching off them a little bit more, and they weren't making as much. So they started lobbying for, oh, you're telling us what to do, you're paying us this way, we want to be considered employees now. That way they could start getting health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So they lobbied it here and started in California, and they passed it. And basically what they said is the difference between an independent contractor and employee is, you can't set a schedule for an independent contractor. And if you do, they are deemed now an employee, and you have to do that. There's like 3 different steps, but they pretty much basically mean you can't tell the person what to do and set their schedule. Then the AB 5 law came in because of the Uber and Lyft and said, okay, now there's a 4th rule, and all that is okay, the first 3, but if your person does the same thing as what your business entails, you're an employee, cannot be an independent contractor. And what they did was basically screw over every single salon owner. Trucking companies work that way too. Private gyms like mine, were basically a personal trainer cannot be a personal trainer independent at a personal training gym, which was exactly my setup. And a yoga or Pilates person couldn't be an independent if they worked at a Pilates or yoga spot. Now, a yoga person could come over to my gym, and now we're different, it would be okay, but that's not how we were all set up. So with one law, they wiped all of us out. And the funny thing is, 2 years later, the Uber and Lyft had enough money to lobby it and basically said, okay, we're changing it, and AB 5 law is still good, but now gig workers are exempt, which doesn't make sense, because the whole reason this law even came into play was because of Uber and Lyft, and they somehow got out of it and still wiped out all the rest of us. So we had salon owner clients, yoga clients that had their own businesses that went out of business within that year. And basically I had to change the way I did my business as well. So we basically, told this to all the trainers, and I lost a lot of trainers. And at that time we were actually going to be bought out by another gym anyway, so I wasn't too worried about it. And then, lo and behold, COVID wiped out that new business that was going to buy me out, and so then I lost everything. So now I've got a gym by myself with no trainers, and I still, started running boot camps and all that, and brought it back up, and that's when I really started pushing the online stuff.
A lot of people did, and let's talk really briefly about the gig economy, because, look, any legislature, wherever they live, they're going to find a way to screw you. I don't like the government. I don't like what they do. Mm-hmm. I don't like the bills that they pass. I don't care where you live. They're going to get in your pocket. And that's really what it's about. It's power and pocket. And they, they'll think, or they'll at least say that they're trying to do something that's really good for you. We're going to help you. Just wait for it. It's just not going to work out way they say it is. So what is happening? And that's my baby rant there. I just don't like anything governments do. I don't trust them. I think they do far more damage than they say they're doing good things. They're not. They're just not. But I do, now that you're talking about this, I remember it a bit. But the gig economy, now they're doing their level best to get into anybody who is a contractor and get into those pockets. It's all follow the money.
Yep.
Just follow the money. So
yeah, and that's the whole reason. Like so doing now, basically we kind of had figured out a loophole per se at our last gym, and basically my partners had a real estate business. That's what they did on the side, and so basically we just said, okay, that gym has offices and everything. This is not a gym anymore. It's a real estate office. And it just happens to have a gym, so they're going to rent space to trainers because they don't do the same thing, real estate to trainers. And now that's the loophole that the place is running off. Still,
Smart.
Just but still with all the stuff going on, it was still a better play to start moving to the online world anyway. So I actually only work there about 2 days a week, and I've since left that gym. I'm just a personal trainer now. I let my partners run it. And then I went full on to podcasting and online training, which is just way more scalable. You can get your message out there just so easy nowadays. And it's just more fulfilling. That can help even more people. And that's kind of my niche with all my injuries and everything, of helping the over 40 crowd, just fight the aging process. Because this is about the time where, life starts not getting so fair and you're putting on more weight and you're doing more work and you're dieting even better. But it's still not the same as when you were in your 20s. So that's kind of
you're exhausted
the theme of
all
my
the
show.
time.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying about doing it online. As I said, I'm not, more than two people is people eat. I have to go. I must go now. I don't dislike people. I'm only good for 59 3/4 minutes, and then I really do have to go. I'm an introvert. I need to be left alone. But what you're talking about with online makes perfect sense to me. And, of course, I live online. I do everything online. But it allows for people to, log in, do their training when they want to. Some people, look, they don't sleep well. They may be logged in at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing whatever they do. Just as an example, I can't dance. And I really dislike the word can't. I normally just say I don't dance, because I have no sense of, I have no perception. I can't see anything from left or right. And I'm clumsy. And I know this. I'm just not the most graceful person in the world. So I got an online dance thing, and I love it. And I may log in 2 or 3 times a day, do a couple of things and go, that was fun, I'll come back to it. But I do it when I want to. And that works for me. And I guess it worked for your people as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For people who want the camaraderie and all that, that's totally fine, and that's kind of what the local gyms are for, and studios and everything. And they even have online group classes that are similar to give you that experience. But like you said, for the people who just want that one-on-one, that's what online coaching is just all about. It's perfect, and the scalability of it makes it inexpensive as well. So it's not like private training here in Orange County is anywhere from like $70 to $100 an hour session, and I think for online it's cut down to like $30-$35, just because of the ease of it. You don't have the expenses of running a gym or paying rent. So it's just if you don't mind that experience of it, the person's not there. It's just a computer, but the message is the same. We could still watch your form, and still produce great results.
Right. And these days, with gas prices being what it is, I mean, that's got to factor into how many people are willing to drive whatever distance to get to their pay the price, get dressed, go drive. There's so many factors these days. You have to say, is this worth it? But I don't want to give up my fitness level. So online sounds perfect to me.
Yeah. And so, besides the online training and building programs for people, kind of the theme of my show, Over 40 Fitness Hacks, was more of, I'm trying to find the over 40 crowd who have this issue. And, even myself is going through this, being over 40, of, things are harder. You got to be just more efficient and targeted, and but without losing your social life. I like having my fun on weekends, and I am not going to give it up. and I don't expect my clients to either. There's trainers out there that are hardcore, you better do this diet or this, and they're very militant, or they won't even work with the client. I'm not like that. I understand that
they really do.
People need to enjoy their life.
Your doctor won't even tell you. You're sitting there and you're 100 pounds overweight. Your doctor is probably not going to say, you need to lose weight. I mean, because I don't think you can tell people what to do these days. We get a little testy about that. I do.
Yeah.
You would tell me, what now? Back up.
So my method is to work with people. There's no one size diet that fits all. I find out what's working for people. I don't like to mess with too much of their life. I just do little tweaks and hacks. That's what I call them. It's pretty much just tips on things they can just add and subtract to their current program without making it a big change. No one likes big changes. We started off the show talking about the New Year's people. It's great that people get motivated. Okay, it's New Year's. We're terrible from Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's Eve parties and all that, and now we're all focused on it. But that's such a bad way to do it, because when you throw your all-out effort at something, and within 2 weeks you don't really see too much results, and even after a month, which it does take time, you're not going to, then people just start falling apart. And then you see all the people who are who are not back in the gym by February 1st. It's just a cycle that just keeps continuing. So it's better just to
constantly
build
even I know
habits.
that.
Yeah.
And I don't go to gym. I used to. I tried. I really did. And I hired a trainer, and she was sweet. We're still friends. I hated it. I can't begin to tell you how much I hated it. And I would tell her, "You're being mean to me," and she was. And she was like, "Denise, what? My mama doesn't use that tone of voice with me." I mean, she was a great trainer, but it just wasn't for me. And I had to I actually created a little gym in my house, in my garage. Fortunately, I only have one vehicle, so half of it's for the car and half of it's my own little gym. But even doing that, I always find a reason not to actually go in there, especially in the summer. I live in the deep south. We have 2 seasons, hot and hotter than hell. Think about a garage in those seasons. I mean, you get out there and faint after 10 minutes. So I've had to find other ways. I mean, I still use, like right now, it's nice weather, and I'm out there using my little gym, but I walk the dog. I do my little dance things, and I'm so grateful that nobody is in the house watching me stumble around, because I cannot dance. I really can't. And I'll be laughing so hard at myself. She'll say, "Okay, this is the easy part," and I'm arguing with the person. It's like, no, you're lying to me. But I keep doing it because it's fun and I get giggles out of it. So I guess my point is, find something that works for you and keep on doing it. It took you a long time to get to where you are now. It's not going to get fixed in 2 weeks. We're just not magic.
No.
We think we are. We're not.
And you know what? That's the most important thing. Not everyone likes working out. Not everyone likes running. You find something that you like you mentioned, the dance, and go with that. But one of the biggest things is, and I think you were doing it, was having an accountability coach, someone like you were taking online dance lessons from, and having that person, however often you can afford or would desire. But at some point, you need to check back in with that person, because that's what holds you accountable. And that's the biggest thing is, being over 40, we've got, kids if you got them, or family, responsibilities, work, and it's just hard to get sucked back into that, I just can't do it right now, and just let everything go. So having some sense of accountability or a check-in with somebody is just absolutely huge. So
it really is. And when, like right now, I've been talking with a friend of mine, we're both feeling blah. It's, it's the new year. I mean, I understand why people are saying, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, I know better. I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. But I get why people get that idea that, I can do this, I'm going to go do this. But if you don't have somebody going, hey, did you go to the gym today? Or did you take the walk with the dog? And you're looking at the dog and the dog's looking at you like, that's a good question. Are we going to go walk? So
poor dog's got the leash in his mouth.
Yeah. With me right now, it's my dog. She's looking at me. She's looking at the leash. She's looking at the door, and she's just guilting the heck out of me. So I go walk the dog. And once I'm out there, like, okay, this is fun. But you know when I do it? Very early in the morning. I mean, before dawn. I go out really early, and then I'll go out again. I live in a very small neighborhood. It's safe as it can be. And we may go out at, 9, 10 o'clock at night. But I go out in the dark because, deep south, hot. So it's just I don't want to be out there in the sun at all, ever. But it works. But I'll check in with my sister, who is also on her own. She's had some health issues, and, we'll kind of check in and say, okay, how are you doing with it? And if I have to kind of enumerate what I didn't do, I'm like, okay, I'm going right now. It does help. It really does.
Yeah. And one of the best things, too, is if you can, it's not a thing that is 100% that you have to do, but if you can, doing that workout or walk or whatever you like doing early in the morning, because you're in a fasted state before you've had breakfast, if you even have breakfast, and it actually does produce better results getting that done before you have your first meal. So that's awesome that you do that in the morning. And that's kind of one of my fitness hacks too, is fasting as long as you can in the morning and get this work done, whatever you're doing. You just less time of eating, the more time you can fast and hold it off, the better. And, since being over 40, you need every little tip and trick just to, keep you on track and, producing results.
Well, let's talk about that morning fast, because I'm not a person who eats breakfast. I never did. I don't like it. I get hungry. I eat one major meal a day. That's pretty much it. And normally it's around 1-ish. I just don't get hungry or peckish until about, not a little bit afternoon. And then I may have, a healthy snack like walnuts or pecans. I've got pecan trees in the backyard. And I may have little bits and pieces of snacks, but I really don't eat 3 meals a day. I never have. Is that normal? Is that healthy?
No,
I need to know.
Yeah. So it just kind of depends what your goals are too. If you're looking to build more muscle, which is a way of losing weight, you raise your metabolic rate by building more muscle, then it's hard to eat just one meal and get all the protein you need in one day. If that's not your main goal, and you just want to stay lean and walk and dance, and you're not eating that much, you can maintain a healthy weight, then it's great. Oh, you can have one meal a day. That's perfect. But like going back to the fasting, that's one of the biggest things I can add to someone's program without touching anything else they're doing or telling them they can't eat this or drink that. Just do what you're doing, and it's called intermittent fasting. You're basically trying to take all their meals and crunch it down into a time window. You usually start with about a 10-hour time window, and then start whittling away at that. And there's some people that medically they got to check with their doctor to make sure it's okay to do. For some females, that can kind of screw up their hormones a bit if they go down to like a 6-hour or 4-hour eating window. You just kind of play with it, work with your doctor. But it sounds like you're already doing that. You've got yours scrunched into like a 2-3 hour window, which is great.
I've done this all my life. Yeah, breakfast to me is just gag. I don't even like to look at breakfast. I mean,
no, I hate breakfast foods. I'm with you.
That's just, what are y'all doing? And cereal, my brother loved cereal.
Yeah.
I like to read. He liked the cereal. So I would take the box and read the box while he was eating the cereal. Breakfast has never been my, so we were sharing the cereal, but I wasn't eating. To me, honestly, if you're going to go to the grocery store and if you're just bypassing the produce section, and fortunately, living where I do, we have a lot of fresh produce, fresh seafood. In fact, I had shrimp for my meal yesterday, fresh shrimp. And we're really lucky with that. But if you wander from there, where the healthy food is, the fresh food, the crisp, healthy grown food, and you go over to the other side of the grocery store, to me, the brighter the packaging is, the less nutrition it has. You might as well just lick the box. There's no nutrition inside that box as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. I mean, those are what we call processed foods, anything that's in a box or a bag. So you're exactly right.
But so what we're talking about tips and tricks for people over 40, who refuse to give up their social life, and you're talking about intermittent fasting, which I'm aware of. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing until it became kind of a new thing. I was like, well, I've already done that. Water. What is it with people and not wanting to drink water? I don't get that. Water is my favorite beverage.
Yeah, and that is a big one, and I've got clients who fight me tooth and nail on it. But, you just got to find something that they enjoy drinking that's water-based and not caffeine-based. Or
sugar-based.
Slice of lemon. Yeah, but now they've got all these new stevia. Like I like a little flavor in my water as well, and lemon usually does pretty good. Or I'll put a little bit of cayenne pepper in there actually. But even now with like stevia, that's kind of a plant sugar. There hasn't been a whole lot of research for a long time on that, but it seems to be very safe. So they have different flavored stevias that you can put in there. And that's what my mom is exactly what we're talking about. Like, she hates the taste of water. I'm like, what? That's life. How do you not like water? And she drinks like a lot of tea, which has caffeine. It's more of a diuretic. So I have to really fight with her tooth and nail and finding something that she can kind of add to regular water that she'll drink. And, that's one of the things we found was like flavored stevia. And now she'll, I still don't think she gets the exact amount she needs per day, but it's a lot better than before. But that's one thing we attack with clients right there. We got to find something that you can drink and like. And, I like, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I drink a 20-ounce glass of water. That's like, for some people, that's more than what they drink in a whole day. So if you can't do that, then you need to have, if you can't do that, you need to have a system of bringing, all these different cool bottles and everything that have different things on them and can keep it cold. But having that and taking it with you to work or wherever you go, so you can just slow sip on it throughout the day.
Exactly. Another trick, and I've done this all my life, shower. When I'm in the shower, I'm scrubbing everything. I'm relaxing. I take my showers hot enough to boil broccoli. Seriously, I'm probably going to peel the paint off of my entire bathroom at some point. Fortunately, it's big and it's got cathedral ceilings, so far it's safe. But I'll drink water straight out of the stream that's coming at me, and it's hot water. Yeah. It's warm water. That's good for you as well. And you're not having to swallow all kinds of water if you really don't enjoy it. Just stick your face in there and take a couple sips while you're taking a shower.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I drink tap water. There's nothing wrong with that.
I do too. I drink out of the hose. Yeah. Are you kidding? I drink water wherever it is. I'm going to drink it. I love water. And I really like is well water. Go figure.
Oh, yeah. So well water and, natural spring water, if you can find it, or even bottled spring water is like kind of the best. Tap water, who knows what the city's really putting in on it, but usually it's pretty good, and the alkalinity of the water is good. What's not really good is like bottled water, bottled regular plastic water over time starts becoming more acidic. And, my wife was a big person that was doing that, and you could for anyone that wants to check their alkalinity in their body, you can go buy on Amazon pH test strips that you just put on your tongue, and then you could see how acidic you are at that moment. And between me and my wife, I drink tap water. So
go ahead, keep going, but then tell us what that means.
Yeah. So checking your alkalinity in your body, there's a pH scale of acid on one end, and being very base on the other end. It's not healthy to be on either end of that spectrum. You want to be kind of in the middle, a little bit more towards the base. So depending on the test strips you get, they kind of number it like 1 being, just pure acid. And then as you go up the scale to like 10 being real base, which is also dangerous and, can hurt you that way too. So you want to be on a scale of 1 to 10 on my test strips. There's different test strips out there, but on mine you want to be, I think it's anywhere from 7 to 7.5 is the perfect kind of alkalinity that your body wants to be. And so if you test your strips and you see that you're more acidic, that's not good, because, cancer thrives in it. All these bad hormonal processes can happen when your body's more acidic. So you need to push it more in the alkalinity, the base side. And ways to do that is, okay, a big one is what are you drinking? If you're drinking bottled water all the time and it's kind of older, it's more acidic. And you can test that with the same strips. So, testing the tap water here in Huntington Beach, it's perfect 7.4. And that's what I've been drinking the whole time. That's why I score better than my wife, who's drinking bottled water. So we actually switched to a sparklet. Yeah, we actually switched to a sparklet system, and we kind of paid the extra money to get the mountain spring water because, that has electrolytes all built into it and all that. And bam, all of a sudden my wife is scoring perfect numbers now.
That's interesting because, again, living in the deep south, hurricanes, we have hurricane season 6 months a year, along with hot and hotter and hell. Those are our seasons. That, hurricane season is basically the mud season, which overlaps a lot of our year. But we stock up. I mean, my garage, if you get sick, you're going to get aspirin or Benadryl. That's it. But I've got toilet paper in there. I've got bottles of water. I've got cases of water. We stock up because we never know what's going to happen around here. But, and I didn't know this before talking to you. I guess it was just common sense. I'm constantly cycling those, big old packs of water because I don't want them sitting out there too long. I worry about the plastic, what's leaching out of the plastic into my water. And then I kind of do what you do. I'm drinking water all the time, but I'll rinse that bottle out once I'm through with it, and I'll keep using it for a couple of times. Then I toss it and I go on to the next one.
Yep. And that's a good thing. You're cycling out that water, and you're also keeping that stuff, in cases of emergency. That's different. Once you're not in in that zone of an emergency and life is good again, then that's try not to drink bottled water. Try to find a different source, or drinking mountain spring water that holds its alkalinity better. And usually they put that in glass bottles. So that also plays into what you just said. Yeah. So, you knock out two birds with one stone. You're not getting the poison from the plastics over time, and you're getting the healthier mountain spring water. So, something to think about. But, yeah, I just used sparklets. I couldn't believe they had the spring water. That's what we use now.
Oh, be darned. Okay, so back to tips and tricks. So we're talking about intermittent fasting, which apparently I've done all my life without knowing what it was. And, you fall away from it sometimes. Look, in the South, we can cook. I'm telling you right now, I live right in the middle of Cajun country. If it can be caught, it'll be cooked. That's just the way we live down here. So be careful.
In my mind, I just think gators.
We eat alligators delicious. It really is.
Yeah, I heard.
Snails. I mean, I like snails. I eat crawfish. I eat a lot of shrimp. We eat oysters. We eat, catfish. Don't give me beef. I don't really care for beef all that much unless it's in a hamburger. And even then, I'm like, pork I eat. But, it's more, do I like it or don't? I'm not being fussy about it. It's just some foods I like and some I don't. And that's how I eat. But, I mean, saying that I am, on an intermittent diet, it's just who I am, and I've always been this way. But I do fall off of it. I'll be somewhere, and all of a sudden we're eating all day long because Cajuns do. They cook, they eat, they drink, coffee. And then I realize it doesn't take but a day or two, and I feel like crap when I do that. I feel loggy, groggy, irritable, bloated. I don't like doing that. So you have to pay attention to what your body's doing, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another hack your audience can check out. If the typical American diet, just being real high in sodium, people don't realize the other part of that, your electrolytes that work together on your water balance is sodium and potassium. So people think, okay, I got to cut sodium out, but you actually have to look at your potassium too, because potassium in your body, it's a mineral. It helps pull water into your cells. Sodium pulls water outside of the cells into your bloodstream, and it's what makes you, look bloated and feel bad. So, someone just cutting down their sodium intake, that's not enough. You need to be looking at your potassium intake. So one of the cool things with all those diet trackers out there that, people may use, they look at how many calories they're taking and how much protein, fat, and carbs they're taking. But a lot of times those trackers don't track minerals because they don't care. And some of the foods aren't required to put things like potassium or or vitamin C on it, So a cool website to go to that everyone can check out, it's called eatthismuch.com. And what that shows is on every type of food on this planet, whether it's in raw form or cooked, it'll show you, and it matters. If it's cooked, sometimes the minerals and everything change. But you can see how much sodium, how much potassium, every single calcium, magnesium, vitamin of every single food product is on there. And you can make a little chart and just kind of play with it. Like on a normal day, this is what I normally eat. Obviously, we have bad weekends and stuff like that. But just do a normal day and do a chart and add it all up and really look at sodium and potassium. And I promise you, the typical American diet, sodium is going to be super high and potassium is going to be super low. And you need to switch those, and you will see incredible results just from doing that.
Okay, give me that website again.
Yeah, it's called eatthismuch.com.
Eat this much. I'm writing that down.
And
okay,
just some ideas for people. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, keep going.
I was going to just for people to know, like, well, where do I get potassium from? Just to, you can Google all that, but just the biggest ones. And for potassium, you got to watch out. It's dangerous to use supplements for that kind of stuff because you can mess with your heart. And some people that overdose on potassium can throw themselves in cardiac arrest. But just a good simple thing is just Google the RDAs, the recommended daily allowance that's out there in the medical field for all these different minerals, and then try to get it from natural food sources. So the things like highest in potassium are like coconut water, bananas, avocados, and then like the green leafy like kale, spinach, and like Swiss chard or collard greens. I know you guys probably eat a lot of collard greens in the South, and that's huge in potassium.
Not if I can avoid it. That stuff's nasty. Tastes like jerk.
Hey, I thought it goes with all the crawdads and Cajun shrimp. I thought it was.
It does.
I
don't touch it. I like greens. I eat a lot of salads. I love kale, collards. Oh, just the smell of it. It's like smelling liver. I have to go now. It's nasty.
Well, at least you're getting the other thing. So that's why there's options in life. But yeah, for kind of a fun test to do to yourself. Check it out for a day and go on that website and look, and you're like, oh my God. My potassium is not even close to what the RDA is, and my sodium is off the chart. And that's why you feel kind of bloaty, you're holding water too much. And you make that switch, in less than a week, you'll see like a 4 or 5 pound drop off of just water if you're having that problem, which, most Americans do.
Well, you there? You still there? I was hitting buttons, and I think I lost you there for a minute. You're talking about sodium. I try to avoid going through drive-through windows. I don't necessarily like my food handed to me. I don't know, what's going on back there, and I don't even know what the quality of the food is. But sometimes you're tired, you're hungry, you've been out and about all day, and I made the mistake of going, Taco Bell sounds good. When I was a kid, I loved Taco Bell. Look, the first bite of that taco, I actually had to pull my coat. I was already in the parking lot. I pulled over, I parked, and I spit it out. And I fed my meal to the cats behind the dumpster. It hurt my tongue. It was so salty. And people are eating this stuff all the time. So I'm just thinking that maybe going through too many fast food windows is where a lot of your sodium issues may be coming from.
Yeah, well, that's how they preserve the food, how they add better taste, and all those things. And, once you kind of stay away from those kind of things, normal food starts tasting better and everything. And then when you do go to Taco Bell, you'll notice what you just said, that you've been clean for so long that having something like that actually is like a shock to your body. So it's telling you that it doesn't want this.
No, not a bit. And while we're talking about, the different minerals and supplements, I guess magnesium, to me, that's an important one. Yeah,
so like magnesium and calcium kind of play a dance with each other. Calcium, helps with, certain hormones, but mostly also for, bone health. And magnesium helps with stress, your cortisol levels, and magnesium actually helps calcium get into the bones. So you have to have both. And you can also do that website and check out, am I deficient in one of those? and you may be. It's a little bit harder to be too far off on those two, especially if you're getting a good amount of, either dairy or milk or anything that has calcium in it. We seem to fortify a lot of our foods with calcium. But you may be. So, it'd be a fun test to see how far off you are from those from your RDAs.
Well, I do take magnesium, and the reason I do is because I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my leg is cramping or something is cramping. It's almost always my thigh or a calf. I was like, well, son of a biscuit. I have to go in the shower at 3 o'clock in the morning, steam myself into, some kind of calm, and then I, take a magnesium gummy. It's like, oh, forgot my magnesium. If I forget or if I'm not really good about getting magnesium in, I start to cramp up.
Yeah. And that might be one of the things, if you did that little test, you might see, I'm getting a lot of calcium, but then my magnesium is next to nothing, and that's why you're having that happen, and that's why you're having to take that supplement.
Gotcha. I'm definitely going to go do that. Okay, so more tips and tricks for people over 40. We've talked about water. We've talked about, different minerals that we all need. What are the ones that you really find yourself helping people with that, things that we probably knew or should know but didn't really pay attention to or didn't understand how important they are?
Yeah, kind of like the biggest one is just kind of the one that, I started my career with personal training is, personal trainers help you build muscle. And just kind of, everyone knows that, but just a little bit more of the science, building more lean muscle mass. And, a lot of girls specifically will be like, well, I don't want to be bulky. Lean muscle mass is lean. It's very tiny, and it's actually more contouring and aesthetically pleasing than, fat. So don't worry about getting too big. And the amount of food you have to eat to even get to the size they think you're going to look like, it's almost impossible unless you're a full-time eater. So, just scratching that off. But raising your lean muscle mass increases your metabolic rate. We call it the BMR. It's a basal metabolic rate. And what that means is there's a certain amount of calories that your body burns, even if you were just to lay on the ground for an entire day and do nothing. Your body will still burn calories. And you can raise that number by putting more lean muscle mass on. So if that's what you're focusing on, at rest while you're sleeping, you'll be burning more calories than you were, the previous weeks that you didn't have all that new muscle on. So in our career of being personal trainers, that's the one thing we really work for is build lean muscle mass and watch our clients, fat just fall off. And the other caveat to that is, to build more lean muscle mass, you also need the help of making sure you have a high-protein diet. And that's another struggle of, fighting clients on getting enough of that. And if they can't find food sources or are unwilling to eat them, we have to use supplements like protein shakes. So,
well, when you say high protein, what foods are you recommending?
Usually we recommend just, the leaner the better, fish, chicken, right, lean cuts of beef, all that. If they want to go a little fattier, that's okay. You just have to watch now your fat intake for using oils and stuff like that. But protein shakes are just real easy, especially, for just as a blanket statement out there, everyone's protein requirements are different, but typically girls are usually in the 80 to 100 category, and then guys are closer to the 120 to 180 grams of protein category. And either one of them is so hard to hit, even when you're trying without supplementing with like protein shakes. It's just so hard.
Really?
There's not enough,
I would have never
not enough
thought
time
of
in
that.
the day to eat all this.
Yeah, and I don't drink protein shakes. I mean, I've tried them, but to me, I guess my mindset is like, I'll just do that if I'm in a hurry and I need, I'm jumping in the car and I need something, so I'll keep it in my purse. But from what I think you're saying that these are something you probably need as part of your daily life.
Yeah, and Denise, going to your scenario of the eating once a day, hopefully you're trying to get enough protein in that one meal, but it's, if you count how many calories you're eating, maybe like 25 to 30 grams in that one meal with those walnuts you mentioned. And if you're supposed to be, it depends on your weight too, but if you're supposed to be closer to 80, you are far off. But like I said, raising your BMR and lean muscle mass is not the only way to lose weight. It's for the people who want to go in that direction. You seem to have a healthy lifestyle. You're walking, you're doing a lot of activity that makes, and you don't like working out. So that we don't have to go that route.
Well, and listen, as a web developer, and that's my job. I do this podcast because I love it. But for work, I own my own digital agency, and I'm constantly in a chair, constantly. I live in my office. So I have to find, and I figured this out early on, I've got to find ways to move, because I'll be sitting here looking at code, and all of a sudden geez, everything hurts. I get up and move. So, I've had to find ways to just stay healthy while being, in many ways, sedentary. And I don't watch TV. I don't like TV, but I like to code. I like to build websites. I like to, work with social media clients. That requires me to be in front of a computer monitor a lot. So I have to find a way to stay healthy and move without. Right now I've got a vibration plate underneath my desk. I've got my feet on it. I have that thing going all day.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing for, a lot more people are doing remote work. They're by the computer. Even myself, like I mentioned, I'm doing more online training and podcasting now. And I can only sit down and do this for so many hours per day. And especially with the lower back problems that I've had, I can't sit down for that long. So a lot of desk workers will know the lower back pains, because you can't sit in this position forever. Your muscles get too weak. And you'll start feeling the pain. So you need to get up and move. For myself, I actually sit on like one of those donuts, a cushy little donut thing for the chair, just to help take the pressure off the sacrum. So that's always a thing that people can do, or just get one of those standing desk setups where you have the option to sit down or stand, and everything's right there at perfect level for your hands. So those are huge.
They are, and I know a lot of people that use this. Some years ago, I tried the ball chair. I fell right off of it. In the middle of a podcast, I slipped right off of it, and fortunately, I was able to hit the mute button before I went down, because I was laughing my butt off. I was like, oh, geez, it's a good thing this is not video, because I was flat out on my back, and my cat was like, you okay, Mom? No. Nobody knew because they didn't hear it, but it was kind of funny. My veterinary office has that now. They needed it. I took it over there. It's like, y'all, here. I went in there one day, and the girl behind the desk had the ball, but she didn't have the chair. Well, I had the chair, didn't have the ball. I said, here, marriage made in heaven. And then I realized that she was pregnant, and I didn't want her falling off of that stupid ball. So, there you go. Listen, we've only got about a minute or so. So is there anything – this was really fun. It went fast, and thank you so much for all of the information. Is there any other tips, tricks that you really need to share with people before I let you go?
I would think of, another thing to, try out that intermittent fasting if you think that's something you might want to try. And then also, detoxing is a big deal. Just over the over 40 crowd, we've been on this planet for a long time with all its toxins and everything. Checking out different like detox cleanses, you don't have to do it for a super long time, just maybe a day or two. And just the benefit you get from just giving mostly your liver just a break, because your liver processes everything you put in your body, and it has a great potential to rejuvenate itself, but you got to give it time. So fasting helps, off those horrible weekends or parties, and then also adding some detox in. And I've got certain methods to detox, or you can just kind of Google it or go to anyone, your doctor or something for any suggestions. But there's liquids and powders and things you can do to add to detox that liver and give your body a better chance, to boost its metabolic capabilities. So I'd just like to leave your audience with that.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the lemonade cleanse?
Yeah, it's like lemonade, cayenne pepper.
Yes.
A couple things. That
and,
one you're
the
about?
good maple syrup, the kind not the garbage that you put on your pancakes. I drink that all the time. But then I live in the South, and I like cayenne pepper. I love it. I've got some in the fridge all the time. So listen, before I let you go, where can people find you? Where can they find information about what you do? Where can they, join you?
Yeah, thank you. My website is over40fitnesshacks.com, and that's 40 the numbers. And same thing for my podcast, Over 40 Fitness Hacks, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. It should be everywhere. And always in the show notes are my contact information, my email, and you can just reach out from there if you're interested.
Excellent. Brad, this has been delightful. I've really enjoyed it because, listen, we all need to be healthier. We want to be healthier. And not everybody has the time, the wherewithal, or even the cash to go into a gym. And this is a good time to start talking about, it's always a good time, to talk about your personal health and how you feel. And listen, if you're headachy all the time and your back hurts, you're doing something wrong. It can be fixed for the most part. So that's what I'm hearing from you. So thank you so much, Brad. It's been wonderful speaking with you, and I thank you for all of the terrific tips and advice that you shared with our audience. And to the audience, I recommend that you go find Brad. Look at his podcast, look at what he's doing online, and check in with him and say, hey, hi, I heard you on your Partner in Success Radio. Which reminds me, before we say goodbye, I would like to remind our audience to be sure to look for us in iTunes, Stitcher, Apple. We are everywhere, anywhere you consume your business podcasts. The truth is you can't throw a stick on the Internet without hitting your Partner in Success Radio. So find us and take us along on your success journey. Brad, again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Denise, for letting me be on your show, and hope we kind of, some of your audience may be sparked to get something done, because you don't have to be in pain or miserable for the remainder of your life. There is ways to fix it.
I agree.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.